Hi, and thanks for watching Club Marine TV. I'm Mark Rothfield, and today we're coming from the Boatworks on the Gold Coast. Now, we all know that babies and boats both like a clean bottom, but the topic of anti-fouling isn't that exciting unless you have your boat on the slip and you want to avoid a slip up. With me to answer a few very frequently asked questions is Irina from All Grip and International Paints. Thanks for joining us, Irina. First question, what is anti-fouling paint? I know they took the tin out of it, but what chemicals are in there and how does it work?
Hi Mark, and thanks for having us. The basic ingredients of paint are the resin, which determines the paint's properties. Then you have pigments and additives, which fine-tune how it performs. And in the case of anti-fouling, the active ingredient is the biocide, which is copper. All of International's anti-foulings are tin-free to help protect the environment. And we also have something called biocide boosters, which are different ingredients that help with slime and also with some growth, which is more resistant to copper.
There's lots of different boats out there and lots of different products. How do you put the two together?
That's a very good question. And a lot of people think that when you have anti-fouling, you just paint the boat and it will stay clean. It's a lot more scientific than that, and there are quite a few factors to consider. So one of them is the type of boat. So what material is it made of? You wouldn't want to put cuprous oxide products on an aluminium hull because you can cause galvanic corrosion and damage it. Also depends if you have, for example, a slow sailing boat that mostly stays at the marina. You might need a softer product. Then if you have a 45-knot game fishing boat, you might need something harder, so it won't polish so fast. Then the environment matters as well, whether you're in colder water, on hot tropical waters, and also how long are you trying to get out of your anti-fouling before you need to recoat. You know, is it 12 months, 16 months? So there are just a few factors to think about.
My own boat's a trailer sailor. It's in a really nutrient-rich bay, and I get lots of growth, and I don't use my boat very often. How does boat usage factor into the choice between, say, a hard anti-fouling and a softer ablative anti-fouling?
Okay, that's a good question as well. So soft anti-foulings have the advantage that you have less build-up on the hull, whereas hard anti-foulings are more suited for faster boats and also for people who enjoy diving under the boat to clean the anti-foul. So if you have a soft product, every time you clean it and scrub it, you're taking product off and you're affecting its performance. Versus hard paints, they are actually designed for that. You should never scrub too aggressively because you can still mechanically damage the coating, but they are designed for this. So also for race boats that need to burnish the bottom to go as fast as possible, we have products like our VC Offshore, which are designed for this purpose. Okay,
and trailable boats, what should they go for?
Then again, you have a choice. If the boat doesn't stay out of the water for more than 12 months, you should probably go with something hard, because of all the mechanical damage when you're putting the boat on and off the trailer.
Now, the million-dollar question is, I'm up on the slip. How do I go about prepping to make sure I get the best use of the product and the best value?
The most important thing is the preparation indeed. So the first step is to give the hull a good high-pressure water wash with fresh water. Something about 5,000 psi I would normally do the job. And the objective is to remove all slime, barnacles and any growth that might be on the hull, as well as the hydrolyzed layer. Now, this is the outermost layer of anti-fouling, which is spent, and that needs to come off because it's unstable, and you don't want to put your nice fresh paint on something unstable. And the other reason to give a good pressure wash is to remove any loose and flaking anti-fouling and give a good sound base and a fresh coat of paint for your next coat. Now, the next thing to do also is to do some wet sanding in areas such as the waterline and where the pressure wash hasn't managed to get all the old coatings off. And after that, it's also important when you get your tin of anti-fouling to stir it really well with a wide flat blade to make sure all the ingredients are dispersed properly. Because if you end up, once you've painted the boat and you find some gluggy stuff at the bottom, well, that might have been your biocide and it might not perform as well as it could.
Yeah, okay. Compatibility between, you may have just bought the boat, for example, you don't know what's on there. when do you need to consider priming, and can soft go over hard and can hard go over soft? How does that work?
If it is unknown what the previous antifouling is, you should still do the normal surface preparation to get to a sound layer. And then in terms of chemical compatibility, if you don't know what it is, we always recommend to do a complete tie coat, which is basically a coat of a single pack primer so that the two can't react. But the good news is that a lot of the antifoulings are compatible even from different brands. So the best thing is to call the manufacturer and ask them if they know whether it's compatible.
That's a very good point. Read the instruction sheet all the time. And do you actually have data sheets with your products?
Of course, every paint manufacturer does, and it's very easy. You can just go on our website, just type in the product that you have, and you can download the data sheet. That has excellent information on how much paint to put on, how long to wait between coats, even what surface preparation to do for the different materials that your boat could be made of.
I'm ready to paint. What are some of the tips here? How do I know how thick to make the coat? Do I use thinners? What's your suggestions there?
Well, the first tip is to make sure you have your personal protective equipment. So you want to make sure that you have coveralls, goggles and gloves on. It's a good idea to invest in some good quality brushes and rollers, as well as trays, so you're not having wastage from the shape of the tray, you know. The next thing you can do, also a little tip, is to use alfoil for the tray. That way you can easily clean up and reuse it. And another thing you can use is one of these little tools. So this is a wet film thickness gauge. And the data sheet will tell you how much paint in microns you need to put on. And this will help you measure it. So you basically put it into the paint and look here on the teeth, and you can say that this is however many microns. And if you see that's not what the data sheet says, I need to put some more, you can do that. And if you do that every 6 feet or so, you can ensure that you have the correct quantity, so you get the best performance out of the product.
That's really clever. What about drying times between coats? You know, you've obviously got weather conditions that vary, but what's your recommendation with drying times?
Yeah, well, every product is different. So you would have to see the data sheet, but for most of our range could be, say at 25 degrees, something like 8 hours between coats and another 8 hours before immersion. But again, you have to see about the specific product. The good news is now that a lot of people think you need to rush the antifouling because the boat needs to go straight in the water. All of our modern products can stay out of the water for even up to 12 months sometimes before re-immersion, as long as you ensure that the hull is clean.
So the slipway is far from being a perfect environment, and it can be quite foreign if you're new to antifouling. What are some of the things that can go wrong, such as painting over metal, and how do you go about avoiding that?
Unfortunately, a lot of things could go wrong with an applied paint system. The environment is very important. Check the weather and make sure it's not too humid. Something that could go wrong is also using incompatible paints. You can also miss the recoat window, and then you can compromise adhesion that way. You can paint over aluminum with the cuprous oxide antifouling and cause corrosion. So a good idea always to read the instructions or ask someone else if you're not sure.
You've already mentioned personal safety gear. What are some of the other safety environmental things you can do when you're antifouling?
At AkzoNobel, we deeply care about the environment, so you always have to read the label of the paint for any specific instructions. Have to make sure you dispose of the paint properly and that none ends up in the seaways or in the drainage. The yards also have their own regulations of how to do it, so you must always comply with the local and national regulations. Another good thing to do is also to have less wastage, which is also good for the applicator. You can use, on our website, there is a paint estimator tool, which will tell you how much paint you need so that you have less left over. But it's important to dispose not only of the paint in the tin, but also of any coveralls, rags, brushes you have used, because they also have paint on them.
Irina, obviously we've only just scratched the surface on a huge topic. Where do you suggest people can go to find more information about your products?
They can go to our website, which is www.international-yachtpaint.com, or they can call our customer service number on 1-800-251-431, and they will be referred to their local technical representative.
Thank you so much, Irina, for explaining that for us so beautifully. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video to get the contact details. I'm Mark Rothfeld for Club Marine TV. Thanks for watching.
you.